What's going on, family? That's not how I want my banner to look. Hold on. Edit. I can't edit my banner. That's not how I want it to look. Ooh, what did I do? Hold on. Edit. All right. Back to normal. Let's see. What's up, y'all? What's up? What's up? When I tell y'all, I shove some food in my mouth so quick so that I can make sure I came down here and I talked. Y'all, it's so much going on right now with this election. The closer we get, the crazier it's going to be. One of the things that I noticed, and I know Pastor Kelly don't totally agree with me on this, which is fine. Something strange is going on, with this Liz Cheney and Kamala relationship. That relationship is strange in the sense of the word of, when I think of Liz Cheney, I think of Halliburton. And when I think of Halliburton, because Pastor Kelly's brother, he did bring up a great point that Liz Cheney had already started separating herself from the Republican Party. But I just cannot think of nothing else but the fact that Halliburton and Bush, because Dick Cheney was Bush's was vice president. So Halliburton made some money off a couple of the wars. And I ran across this video, y'all. So let's get started. First, what's going on, y'all? What's going on? Good afternoon, good evening. To some, it might be good morning. So let's get it started, y'all. Let's first talk about the fighting at the polls. Let's talk about the fighting at the polls. Y'all saw the video of the lady, and then we're gonna go into Liz Cheney and talk about Kamala. But have y'all seen a video of them fighting they are already fighting at the polls? Have y'all seen that yet? Tensions have flared up. Let me do my disclaimer real quick. Hold on. And I left my phone upstairs, but no worries, I'm getting it. Hold on. While I get my phone, I'm gonna play a little music for y'all. Hold on, here we go. While I go get my phone. Okay, y'all. Shalom, salama, shalom. So y'all ready to get started? Share, like, and subscribe. Share, like, and subscribe. All right, let's get started. Let's see. Why is it blurry? All right, here we go. Disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, new reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Fair use. Let's get it started. So let's take care of a little business. And if you have not signed up for the event on this week, let me go ahead and pin that little link up. Hold on. Pin that little link. Let me see, and then we can get started. How's everybody doing? While I get this link. All right, taken care of. Let me see. Y'all, also, I just did my new intro, and I'll let y'all see it on Tuesday night when we go live. Let's see. Bear with me, family. Bear with me. Let me go ahead and put that little link out there. Okay. This happens to me every single time. Hold on, y'all. Let me do it like this. And then we can get started. I'm sorry, y'all, for doing that. Taking my... Oh, crud. I lost my... Hold on 1 second, y'all. Y'all know I'm a goof. Copy. After I get done with this, we can proceed. The watch party. Let me pin it, and then we can get started. What happened the other day? What I was supposed to do live? What happened the other day? Oh, I still ended up doing it, but I was really late. I think that's the incident. All right, let's get started. So let's see. So tensions are boiling when it comes to this election event. People are fighting. People are cutting up. They already fighting at the polls, y'all. They're already going toe to toe at the polls. Let me put this up here so I can have that on here. So I'm gonna play this video real quick, and it's as it says, tensions boil in South Carolina. And I think South Carolina is one of those cities that they are like the major city that they want to get that carries a lot of that can a swing state. I think South Carolina is a swing state, but they're already fighting at the polls, y'all. So this video that's being shared is for educational and research purposes only. Fair use. Oh, wow.
There's no reason for all that, sir.
Wow.
This is my mother right here.
Wow.
Why is it defending you? It's like defending me. All right, then shut the hell up and let me vote.
Okay, we ain't got nothing else
It's
to say.
language.
We ain't got nothing else to say.
Wow.
Next in line. There it is right there.
Wow. Oh, wow. God. Oh. Wow. 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 So let me explain the backstory of this. When you go and you do and vote, you're not allowed to wear any of like the paraphernalia, like vote for Trump or vote for Kamala. Not the, you're not supposed, and I didn't know this, and this is new information to me as well. You're not supposed to wear caps promoting the person you're voting. You're not supposed to be wearing any of that stuff. And he had a Trump cap on, so they were asking him to take that cap off, and he just don't want to do it. He don't want to do it. Oh yeah, them women he better watch it. Wow. 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 I might want to work with him. I may want to work with him.
And his last name is Stillinger. White male, blue shirt, blue jeans, cursing, assaulted an employee of the state. He is Mr. Stillinger.
Wow.
Last name Stillinger.
Wow.
No, we're not wrong. We just told you he is still here. He is still here.
Wow.
That's all we told you.
Wow.
So where's limestone?
I won't beat around the bush. Trump and his allies have been.
Y'all see that? This is just the beginning. This happened a couple of days ago. Y'all, this is tensions are flaring to the extent that you're now beginning to see the people fight amongst each other. The thing is, they clearly asked this man to take that cap off because it is a policy that you're not supposed to wear any type of paraphernalia if given if you are voting. You're not supposed to wear anything. And people don't realize that that's a rule you got to stick by, and they can actually kick you out of a voting facility. So here's another video I found. It says US 2024 will elections lead to civil war. Now this particular news station I'm getting ready to hold on. Clicked on. So this news station, I think this news station is not based in the US. Hold on. Let me see where this is based. I don't think this news station is based in the US. The reason I'm trying to figure out where it's based because it's based in New Delhi, India. I knew it was India. It's Wyon. I think it's WION. Wyon, however, I can't get pronounced. You know I'm horrible. But it's interesting to see that there are other international stations asking clearly the question that all of us have. So let me share. Fair use. This video is being used for educational and research purposes only. All right, let's get it going.
Fear the outbreak. 1 in 4 Americans fear the outbreak of a civil war in the aftermath of the U.S. presidential elections come November. This is according to a new poll by YouGov for the Times. The YouGov poll survey.
Now, this was done 9 days ago. This was recently. And I'm going to show you a video of somebody talking about Civil War 6 months ago. So, this been brewing.
Survey found that 27% of Americans, adults, fear eruption of violence after the elections. The survey covered over 1,200 registered voters between October 18th and 21. 12% of survey participants said that they knew someone who might take up arms if they thought Trump was created or cheated out of a victory, while 5% said the same about Harris being cheated. The YouGov poll found 84% US voters saying that America was more divided than 10 years ago, with only 5% thinking it's less divided. Concerns were also raised in the YouGov Times poll over Trump's response to losing the election once again, with 66% saying the former president would not accept the narrow loss, as compared with 27% who said the same about Harris. Meanwhile, according to another poll by Wall Street Journal, Donald Trump has opened a narrow lead over his Democratic rival Kamala Harris in the U.S. presidential race. The national survey published on Wednesday showed the Republican presidential candidate leading Harris 47% to 45%. The recent survey shows views towards Harris have turned more negative since August. Voters now have unfavorable view towards her by 8 percentage points. Voters also gave Harris her worst job rating as vice president, with 42% approving and 54% disapproving of her performance. On the other hand, voters recalled Trump's time as president more positively, with 52% approving and 48% disapproving of his performance in office. Trump has also extended his lead as the best candidate on handling the economy and illegal immigration. He also led on the candidate with right experience for the job. Harris, on the other hand, was still viewed as the best candidate to handle the issue of immigration. Meanwhile, residents of Phoenix took part in early voting at the Arizona State University campus. Arizona is among a handful of swing states that controls 11 electoral votes.
Attention retirees.
So the race is running so close to the point that it really is a toss-up. And everybody's scared right now because you heard them say that Trump said, I ain't backing down, especially if it's that close. So I think have I ever played this? So this was done 6 months ago. This is 6 months ago, y'all. Fair use. This video is used for education and research purposes only. Fair use. So this is on Young Turks.
Have an uprising.
He were to lose again, what would that mean for the country in your estimation?
We'd have an uprising. There's too many people that are ready to go now.
When you say, what does that mean? Can you be specific?
Civil war. Civil war.
You think it'll be a civil war if Trump loses again?
Oh yes, I do. I know with people that I talk to, I'm a churchgoer and I love God more than my life. But there are things that I do for God that I don't do for anybody else. And this is one thing I know, that God needs some help here. You know, actually, my first election that I'd been to was Donald Trump. And
When you say your first election you've been to, you never voted before that, or?
I voted, but I never got into it. Now, you know, I can spend just all waking moments thinking what I need to do. And of course, I can't afford a whole bunch of money, but I can sure talk.
Now, I had somebody tell me that they would take a bullet for Donald Trump.
I think I would too, because I'm not that young. If I was young, I'd never say that, but I would too. I mean,
All the Trump supporters decided to come visit me. They said that I'm a Trump. They said me and Dante support Trump. I love it. I love it. But with that being said, y'all, I'm telling y'all, this right here is by far the most interesting. Interesting. Oh my gosh. This is the most interesting election I've ever been involved in. I have little words. I just want to play videos of some of the things that I've seen. Thank you. They're delusionally dangerous. Delusionally dangerous. Because I'm gonna finish playing because it's other people that's gonna speak. But they've been talking about this for the past 6 months.
We don't want to lose your wisdom to that.
but I don't know what it is about him. He's got that charisma. It says it like it is, never backs down. He never says anything that he shouldn't.
You will never procrastinate again once you understand this, because psychologists have recently discovered.
Do you want to take that one back?
I know you've heard it, but I never hear those things.
If President Trump were to lose, what would that mean for you and for the country?
Doom. I mean, something's got to change. This administration now is not for this country. They're for every country except us. Yeah, so there's got to be a change somewhere. The administration is there now. We don't have a chance. I mean, we really don't.
If you were to lose again, what would that mean for you? What would that mean for the country?
I hate to think what it would mean for the country. 3.5 years that we've experienced so far are terrible, and I just think it would be that on steroids.
Should Donald Trump lose again, what would it mean to you personally, and what do you think it would mean for the country?
Well, it would be very disappointing. I think, personally, I think look at the turnout here. Look at at his opponent and the turnout that you see for him. That doesn't add up. It's pretty much pretty clear that, he has support. The other guy doesn't. The other guy, in fact, I think they cheated.
We'll see you back in 2020.
Bill Clinton supports rape.
Well,
Sorry.
Going back to that election, you think it was stolen?
So a narrative 6 months ago has been brewing. It has. Hold on one second. It has been brewing. Man, it's going to be interesting. I'm going to keep going.
I was definitely stolen. No doubt about it.
Well, there's some doubt, right? Because President Biden's the president now, and 60 courts said it wasn't, and here we are.
Those were procedural dismissals. Yeah. Right. So I don't think, many affidavits, they keep saying there's no evidence. The definition of an affidavit is evidence. The word evidence appears in that definition. So to dismiss all of that evidence, and they do it all the time. So it's absurd that the media, mainstream media, not all media, but much of the media is playing along.
I have thick skin. You can come after whoever.
They're hiding and suppressing news. You have the government involved in censorship, government censorship, using media as a proxy for that. It's absurd, and people see that. We're tired of it. I just don't believe that there are that many Democrat voters out there. You're trying to tell me Joe Biden got the most votes in history? Look at what was happening there. Very shady stuff. We already talked about the evidence that they're saying is not evidence, and it's the same thing with Biden's with his financial dealings, saying no evidence, no suspicious bank activity, suspicious reports, the checks. There's plenty of evidence. That's like mainstream media just won't talk about it. They're hiding it.
We have, God. God is trying to help America, and the man for the mission is Trump. So we need to follow Trump.
But what if Trump were to lose? What would that mean? That didn't work out, or what would it mean for the country?
Well, God has his plan, and God knows everything. If that happens, it means suffering for the people. And I don't think God wants that at this point in time. I think that most of America is a faithful people. America is actually following Christ more than we think. And I think that God knows this.
Do you think America should be an exclusively Christian country?
Yes, but I think that it should be a Christian country.
And let's say we became a Christian country. What would you say to your Jewish friends and neighbors?
Well, I think that the base of this nation was Christianity, and they know that, you know, just like Israel was the Jewish religion, and we know that, and we love them, you know, and we're
Delusional. So, gonna come back to this. This new video popped up. Mount Pleasant. Have y'all heard about what happened in Mount Pleasant, Pennsylvania? If you have, please give me a 1. During a Halloween parade. Oh. So, with that being said, oh, let me share real quick. So I'm gonna just play it. And then I'm gonna stop for a minute and I'm gonna talk. Let's see. Halloween, Pennsylvania. Now keep in mind, I keep telling y'all, I think what's gonna go down is gonna start in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is brewing right now. I think all things are gonna lead to Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is the first city and state I think is gonna pop off. I really believe. So if you look at this, it says Pennsylvania Halloween parade float appears to depict Harris tied to a golf cart. So I know we don't do Halloween. I'm just saying, just show y'all what's gonna happen. So fair use. I'm gonna play this for y'all.
Season, probably not something I'd want in a children's parade.
In this video sent to Channel 11 by a viewer, you can see the float that appeared during the Mount Pleasant Halloween parade. You could see people dressed up as Secret Service surrounding a golf cart style vehicle. Riding in the cart is a person wearing a mask of former President Donald Trump. On the top of the vehicle is a fake sniper.
The worst part of it was the fact that there was either a rope or a chain that was attached to the back of the vehicle, and there was a woman who was to resemble Kamala Harris in handcuffs and chained to the back of that vehicle as though they were dragging her.
This is not a good look. This is simulating a lynching down Main Street in Mount Pleasant.
That's Josh Huff. He was at the parade with his wife and said he was immediately stunned seeing that float.
It was dark. It was like, this has been escalated, way beyond what it should be. Somebody in power had to say, hey, yeah, that's fine. That's okay.
How did this get approved? How did this make it through approval to get in the line to be in the parade and then continue on through the whole parade route?
And that is a legitimate question, and I cannot answer that totally.
The mayor tells me she's meeting with the borough manager and council president and might get the solicitor involved.
After it's already done, I'm not sure that there's much we can do except for going forward.
I reached out to Bill Bretz, the Westmoreland County Republican Committee chair. He sent me a statement saying in part, quote, "We certainly don't condone the simulation of political imprisonment or violence in any context, no matter the party affiliation of those involved."
This needs to stop. In this country, this needs to stop.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about
Fair use. So the thing is this, y'all. Tempers and emotions are flaring right now with this whole election because they are running so close. And one of the deciding factors will be one of the swing states is going to be Pennsylvania. So this election is the most interesting election I've ever seen before. Am I afraid? No. Definitely not. But am I aware? Yes. Um, this is going to be an interesting time. This is going to be interesting. So, I'm trying to find the one that I was getting ready to show you that showed. I got the hiccups, y'all. I'm so sorry. Um, here we go. Here we go. I found it. I found it. Oh, here we go. It shows you how close the poll. Hold on. Fair use, fair use. This is going to be used for for educational and research purposes only. This video is used for educational and research purposes only. Fair use.
We did win this election. We did win this election. We want all voting to stop. We don't want them to find any ballots at 4 o'clock in the morning and add them to the list, okay?
Just past 2 a.m. Eastern on election night in 2020, Donald Trump falsely claimed victory and called for the vote counting to stop. The reality was that the result of the election was still unclear. News networks didn't start calling the race for Biden for another 4 days. Now, Trump's false claim of victory was temporarily boosted by what was called the red mirage. Same-day votes, which were counted first, tilted towards Trump. But because of the pandemic, a record number of Americans voted by mail, and those votes, which took days to count, gave Biden the White House. So, what should we expect this year, and when should we expect it? Joining me now is MSNBC national political correspondent, the great Steve Kornacki. Steve, it is so good to have you here tonight. I am so thrilled to get an early preview of what you're thinking. Can we first talk about the state of Pennsylvania? I was camped out in front of City Hall for more days than I care to remember. Do you have any expectation that their ability to count votes and return a call will be any faster this year than it was in 2020?
Famous last words, but I would say we can be cautiously optimistic about the speed of the count in Pennsylvania and really in most, if not all, of these battleground states. Why in Pennsylvania? Well, a lot of people will say, and this is true, they didn't change any of the laws in Pennsylvania. They had a chance to that would have expedited this. That didn't happen. But what has happened is this. We've seen it in Pennsylvania and we've seen it elsewhere. Voting by mail is down from 2020. During the pandemic, a lot more people were using it. They were at home. They didn't want to go out. And mail is what really clogged it in Pennsylvania and all these other states, especially in Pennsylvania, because they'd never processed it before. So now at least they have a few election officials do of dealing with mail-in voting. They're not going to have the massive numbers of it that they had before. They'll have plenty of it, but they're not going to have the massive numbers. And I think as well, some indications that some of these counties, they didn't count overnight last time. I think you're going to get more sort of round the clock counting as well. So I think there's a lot of opportunities, even for Pennsylvania, to be faster.
Can we talk about what triggers recounts in some of these key battleground states? Because I know in Arizona and Pennsylvania, if the margin's tight enough, it's an automatic recount. What does it look like more holistically across the 7 key states?
I guess the most important thing to know is that in all of them, there's some kind of provision that any candidate can have a recount if they want it. They may have to pay for it in some cases, but there are provisions for the recount to take place. In Pennsylvania, there's an automatic one if it's 0.5%, 0.5% statewide. In Michigan, it's automatic, but it's stringent. That's a 2, by the way. 2,000 votes or fewer. Now, it was when Trump won Michigan in 2016, the margin was about 11,000, so it was starting to get down into that range. It was up to 154,000 last time, but you've got automatic recounts there. And a lot of the others, though, it's sort of, if it's very close and a candidate wants it, they can have it, may cost them money.
So these counts are going up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. I'm trying to figure out why they got 226 and 219. I think it's probably based on what they know, far as these are the states that we know he's going to win And these other states, he gonna win in Tennessee. He gonna win in Texas, places like Florida. I'm back. My daughter had called me, but he's gonna win places like Texas, Tennessee, Florida. Whereas she's gonna win places like California, Washington, Oregon, more of those West Coast. West Coast tends to lean. What I'm noticing is West Coast is gonna always lean towards the Democrats when you're dealing with your Californias, because they're a little bit more liberal. When you get down into the South, they're going to lean more towards Republican. And East Coast is like some Democrats, some Republican. It depends. But Pennsylvania is one of those they really can't measure who's going to win. But this is going to be interesting to see.
But they can do it.
Steve, what, with that in mind, what are the counties that you're most sort of eagerly watching on election night that are going to be, if we can call them that, bellwethers for the ultimate result?
Oh, so many. What a question.
Sorry, give me your top three. Give me your top three.
Top three. We got 3,143.
I know. It's like asking, I don't know, Willy Wonka to pick a favorite piece of candy. I don't know.
What do we want to look at? I'll give you a couple we're going to look at right here. So let's go to Georgia, and we're going to pull up the 2020 results. And I call this the blue blob. You've got 9 core Democratic counties in the immediate Atlanta metro area. These have been getting much, much bluer election to election. Democrat, more than 40% of the votes inside here. One of my key questions here, this is if Democrats are having a good night, is the blob getting any bigger? And if it's going to get bigger, it's going to happen in this county right here. This is Fayette County. You can see Joe Biden lost this by 7 points, but just take a look at what's been happening in Fayette County. Look at this. Mitt Romney won this 2-1 in 2012, came all the way down to 19 points in 16, down to 7. If this trend continues, if Fayette flips and that blob gets bigger, it's a sign Democrats are getting something they want out of Georgia. So I'll give you that as number one. Let's take a look up in North Carolina, too, because that's going to be a 7:30 poll close. We should get early stuff. How about there's Charlotte? It's a big city, one of the 2 big population hubs. Let's go to the east of Charlotte, the bedroom communities of Union County, big suburban county. Now, this is a little different than Fayette I just showed you because it's still an overwhelmingly Republican suburb, but it's a little more subtle here. But take a look in 2016, Trump won this by just over 30 points, came down to 24. An important question for Trump. Remember, he won Carolina both times, but his margin was cut more than in half. This was a significant part of the reason why. Does he stop this drainage or does it get worse? Does he claw back towards 2016 or does he regress further? I think that's key because there's a lot of counties like Union around North Carolina. You talked about Pennsylvania, so we'll close out on a third county in Pennsylvania. And I want to go with, it's not that original, but Lackawanna County. This is Scranton. This is where Joe Biden's from. But again, just take a look at the political journey that Lackawanna County's been on. And so many counties in these Big Ten states are like this. Obama won Lackawanna in a landslide, 28 points. Look what happened in 2016. Trump got all the way down to 3.5 points. Biden, the Scranton native, comes along and gets that back up to the high single digits. I want to know, is this going back towards 2016? Is Trump actually flipping Lackawanna County? That's what his folks want to do, flip this and win this. Or are the gains that Democrats made small relative to what they used to have? But if they're back at mid-high single-digit Democratic victory here, it's a huge thing for Democrats.
Steve, you're such a wizard, man. I mean, I got to say, you just, for a brief moment, my anxiety and stress turned to excitement. I cannot wait to see you back at that big board on Tuesday night. You are a national treasure. Thank you for giving us an early preview. Our own Steve Kornacki. See you on Tuesday.
So let's look at the poll closures. Close. Share this tab. Okay, so these are, and I think these are based on Eastern time. Yeah, it's based on Eastern time. So the first set of closures, it'll tell you if it's Central or Eastern. I think that's what it means. Is that what it means? So Indiana, the first one is Indiana. Indiana and Kentucky are the first two that's going to close. The scheduled closure is at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So it's going to be Eastern for them. The next set of polls, I'm not sure. I think they're Eastern as well, which makes sense. It's 7:30. No, they're closing 6 p.m. Eastern. So right here it says 6 o'clock. District 1 and 8 closes at 7 p.m. Others close at 6 p.m. So we can expect Indiana and Kentucky to be the first set. So when we go online, y'all, the first ones are going to be these two. Now, keep in mind now, which one are the swing states? You got to keep your eye on the swing states. Let's see. Swing state list. The swing states are Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, Minnesota, Arizona, Georgia, Virginia, Florida, Michigan, Nevada, Colorado, North Carolina, and Maine. So, looking at this list, so one of the swing states, which is Michigan, closes at 9 p.m. So Kansas closes at 9 p.m. Plan for that to close. Texas closes at 9. Indiana, Idaho closes at 10. So we're gonna start seeing poll closures as we progress. I guess they hadn't added the other states of what time they're gonna close their polls, but let me see. Hold on, let me see. It's not going back. Okay. Okay, so let me see if they got the other states. So all right, so Alabama closes 7 p.m., 8 p.m., Arizona. So these are all the poll closures. I think this is correct. New York is at 9 p.m., 9, 8. So as we progress, y'all. Hey, John. As we progress, we're going to start. We're going to start seeing numbers come in soon as we start the live, possibly. I will say this much. I am not a fearmonger, and y'all know that. Y'all definitely know that I am not a fearmonger. But I will say this: be cautious. If you in one of those swing states, like my Pennsylvania people, my Philly folk, the ones that are getting a lot of visibility, North Carolina is getting visibility, South Carolina is getting visibility. It looks like Pennsylvania though is going to be the hotbed. I would say go ahead and get y'all groceries this weekend. If you gotta go to the laundromat like me to go ahead and get it, knock it out. You got errands to run, I would say try to close as many errands as possible by Monday. And sit in the house. Make sure you got food. And I would say make sure you have food for a couple of days, just in case. Just in case. If nothing happens, that means you just got groceries in your house. But if you can, to avoid going out, if you're in one of those states that's questionable and scary, questionable. I hope I said that right. Go ahead and get your stuff now. Get your stuff now. Cause fill your car, fill your tanks up, Saints. Don't wait till the last minute. I'm going to put some gas in my car tomorrow. Because if they're fighting at the polls already, think about what this is going to look like. Just think about it, y'all. Think about how these folks are pissed off. There's no other way for me to say it. For those who don't like the word pissed, that's fine, get over it. But these folks pissed off. And these folks have already said it's about to go down. So I would say, because I got one more video I want to see. Oh yeah. So it's this video that I saw, and it was 3 days ago. And it says America's more divided now than any time since the Civil War. They keep harping on the word Civil War. I'm gonna play this. But y'all, make sure you got all y'all supplies. That's all I'm saying. And I'm gonna leave it right there. But make sure you got everything you need at home so you can sit tight for a couple of days. Now let me play this one.
Can all sit down. So this Ipsos poll got me. I was talking to the audience about it before. One, we have our moment that defines the state of play. Dusty, put the video that Trump did today. This was clever, okay? Biden said what he said about the garbage is the followers or the garbage is what they're saying. Whatever he says, he said. Trump shows up at a campaign stop and gets picked up by a garbage truck. Bill O'Reilly tells me this. I said, was he in the front or the back? He didn't think it was funny. So that is the state of play. I see this Ipsos poll. 81% of the people, no matter what party, say we're more divided than united. But at the same time, 70% say we all want the same things. Bill O'Reilly, explain that disconnect.
Well, I think everybody wants a nice life and a pursuit of happiness and opportunities, so that's accurate. We are a divided country, second most divided era ever. The Civil War is first. We passed Vietnam. Vietnam was a very divided nation, but it was a one-issue division, a war. Now we have a cultural division. That's what the situation is. So you got two candidates, and I don't really believe it's about Harris versus Trump. I believe it's about progressive values, Harris, tradition, Trump. And that's what people are going to vote on, except for their wallet. The wallet is going to mean that Harris next Tuesday goes in with a deficit because it's so much more expensive 4 years later to live the essentials of life. And you can throw stats out all day long, but folks know what they're paying and they don't like it. That's going to work against Harris.
And it is the top issue in every measurement that we've seen, both parties. Stephen A., how you see it?
The economy is always an issue. There is no getting around that. I think reproductive rights is going to play a huge factor. Consider the fact that women are 53% of the electorate, and she is deemed as being favorable towards women. I think that the overturning of Roe v. Wade on a federal level is something that could potentially come back to bite Donald Trump. Whether or not that's going to happen or not, we'll find out soon enough. But I also think it's important to bring this up, and there's no way around this. There is a white issue, and here's what I mean by that. White folks in America now make up 57.4% of the population, if I remember correctly. It's the lowest it has been practically ever. When you have a former president that was speaking about immigration, closing our borders, not letting people in illegally, and alluding, if not flat out saying that to some degree they're costing you. You have to remember that if you once considered yourself a very powerful entity, and you believe that that power is dissipating before your very eyes, and somebody comes along and they're literally to transfix your attention on that is the issue, and that is the reason why. It not only builds fear, it builds grievance. And we all know that when people go to the polls, the first thing that serves as a motivational factor is grievance. Whatever disgusts you most is one of the things that inspires you to go to the polls because you want to do something about it. That's what this comes down to. I'm not saying anything else. I'm not omitting anything else. I'm just
Another black face, y'all. If you've not registered for Tuesday, please do. because we're gonna have to go somewhere else and talk about this because this is going to be a mess. But it's always a blackface. Have you noticed they constantly going to get these black celebrities, and then when all hell breaks loose, we ain't gonna be able to find none of them.
Saying that's a very fact. And when I say, just to be clear, when I say race, I'm not talking black and white. I'm talking about the white populace in the United States of America once being in a far more loftier position than they're perceived as being in now. And folks, inevitably, I don't care who you are, if you're in a powerful position and ultimately that dissipates before your very eyes, you're going to look for somebody to blame. And Trump is an absolute master at highlighting for you.
But he's not
who to
just
blame.
talking to white people about that. He's talking to black people about that and Latino about that and saying, if you are struggling, there's somebody who wants your rung on the ladder. And they're
I'm
coming
not trying
in
to
illegally.
imply. I'm not trying to imply that he's only talking to one audience. I'm just talking about the most prolific audience in that regard.
The biggest audience.
Biggest.
Hey, thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com.
Black faces again. They're constantly putting up these black faces. Yes, why is he talking about race? Was this planned? Like we can't read. Thank you. Yeah, I feel like they're gonna whatever happens, they're gonna blame black folks. And I feel it. Because they love to blame us for everything. But again, when things go left, they're gonna go somewhere and hide. They're gonna go somewhere and hide. Hold on, I got another video. Now we are eating dinner and I'm doing live. So I'm trying not to chew, but let's see. So this was 6 months ago. So y'all, they've been talking about this for 6 months. 6 months ago, they said national security experts, if Trump loses elections, expect violence, fair use.
Law and order is vital in upholding American and all other democracies, as we saw on January 6th, when a violent mob incited by then President Donald Trump sought to prevent a peaceful transition of power. So, looking ahead to the 2024 elections, some fear another upheaval should Trump lose again. Our next guest is one of those sounding the alarm. Homeland Security expert Juliet Kayyem argues the government isn't ready for the violence Trump might unleash. And she's joining Hari Srinivasan now to discuss what President Biden should do to plan for the worst.
Christian, thanks. Julia Kayyem, thanks so much for joining us. You wrote an article recently. The title was "The Government Isn't Ready for the Violence Trump Might Unleash."
Now, this
What
is
most
when
concerning
Biden
you
was
right now
running.
heading into this
And
election?
keep in mind, this was when
So what's concerning me is
Biden was running.
both the nature
Somebody said what I
and the
mean.
consistency of threats of violence that are coming out of the Trump campaign, and in particular with Donald Trump. I sort of take as a given that he's telling us what his intentions are, as he did before January 6th. There's an elevated threat environment, which the FBI has already warned us about. He threatens or utilizes the potential for violence, whether it's on his social media sites or in his speeches. The language is the language of incitement. And so the scenario that I worry about isn't just sort of our election, but if Trump were to lose, we need to be ready. That he needs to create a narrative about what that loss means. It was stolen, the election was rigged. And President Biden, not as the candidate, but as the president of the United States, who needs to guarantee a peaceful election, needs to be more transparent on what the preparations are and take some of the advice of the January 6th committee report to get ready for potentially the next insurrection.
So what was some of the advice from that report that bears repeating and bears keeping in mind?
So there's two different pieces of the report. 700 pages are a documentation of what happened on January 6th and a telling of how that was essentially a state-sponsored insurrection. There are about 4 to 5 pages of recommendations, but they are worth following. Some are about sort of sentencing enhancements for the kinds of crimes that we saw around January 6th. Those would require congressional approval. But others sort of direct the federal government to be more organized, more centralized, to share information with state and locals, and be prepared in particular for the time period between November and January. If Donald Trump wins, then there will likely be an orderly transition of power, simply because we have no reason to suspect President Biden wouldn't do that. But if he loses, we certainly know from what Trump has said, and we also know from what the FBI is telling us, that there are large groups and organizations that are preparing to continue the fight. And those are the kinds of law enforcement and preparedness measures that President Biden needs to address now, and specifically needs to be transparent about. He needs to guide this very divided population through the next couple months.
When you mentioned that former President Trump is telling us exactly what he's going to do, what he's interested in, there's always this concern with him.
So, with that being said, if Trump wasn't barred after the peaceful transfer of power and he is neck and neck with Harris, he knows the law isn't legal. Okay, explain what that means. Maybe I misread that. But if there happens to be a civil war, the question is, I'm gonna put some questions up here. So if there happens to be a civil war, the question is, who are they going to be out in the streets going after? I think we all know the answer. Yes, because folks keep jumping in this fight. And they need to stay out of it. Let me see what else somebody else is saying. Real question: how many women are being raped in incest versus both male and female being promiscuous? And you must be talking about something earlier. So yeah, brace yourselves.
About how much of this rhetoric is bluster.
That's exactly right. I've long taken Trump literally because he does signal what his intentions are, whether it was before January 6th and the warnings that people like me who were following him saying, this is no longer a hint, right? It is a place, it is a time, and it's a mission, at least for January 6th. Now what we're seeing in terms of the election strategy, the campaign strategy, and what he's doing on social media, let alone what he's saying in rallies that we tend to ignore in the mainstream press, is very much the same kind of language. I want to be clear, most of Donald Trump's supporters are not going to go to violence, but what Donald Trump certainly knows is that there are people who follow him who will be guided by that kind of language. And what he certainly ought to know at this stage is that there is lots of activity in social media taking his words, taking his language, and then essentially continuing to weaponize it. These are things that Donald Trump is aware of and does nothing to curb, and in fact, further enhances. It's not, look, this is really disconcerting. I get it. I get people's desire to think, no, this time it will be okay. I see no purpose in that at this stage. We should be guaranteed as citizens, whatever our ideological background, a peaceful election period and transition to the next term, whether it is President Biden or former President Donald Trump. And listen to what Donald Trump is telling us will happen if he loses.
Juliet, how do we have conversations leading up to the election and after with this group of Americans who might believe in, what Kelly Conway famously made the phrase alternative facts, who at this point today think that Joe Biden is not the legitimately elected president.
Yeah. So there's a lot of lessons learned now. I think that maybe if there's a silver lining to this, we certainly know different strategies, and I think it depends on who the we is. So I want to sort of divide up this group of people. So we see polling that suggests a large percentage of Americans think that Biden didn't legitimately win. Some of that.
So we got her. So with that being said, we got to brace ourselves for what's to come. She started getting a little boring. I started getting bored. I was like, okay, the man is good, but I told y'all today I'm not doing a lot of talking. I am going to play some videos because hold on, I don't know what my daughter and them are upstairs watching. So I some videos. Say Bush. Hold on. My daughter got the TV on loud. All right, so okay. Hold on. Here we go. So 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 I'm gonna pay this guy named Derek Packman show. And let me go straight to the video where they talk about violence if they're promising violence if Trump is not declared winner quickly. And play this video. And it came out 11 days ago. Fair use. This is going to be used for educational purposes only.
You're being alarmist. We say it as a bad thing. You're more concerned than you need to be about something. You are being alarmist, and it's a bad thing, and it would be better if you weren't alarmist. It's time to sound the alarm with regard to violence from MAGAs, Magadonians, and Magapotamians in just a few weeks, either on election day or the day after. I have a clip for you of Donald Trump's former national security advisor, Michael Flynn, predicting that there will be violence on November 6th if Trump has not been declared the winner. Now, I don't want to put words in his mouth, so I'll play it for you. I don't think he's saying there will be violence regardless, but it does seem as though he's saying if it's close, if we don't have an answer as to who won by November 6th, that's a scenario where we are likely to see the MAGATs go violent.
What happens if there's a steal, and you can define that any way you want?
Yeah.
Does the election get certified? Does the Army get involved? Are we looking at civil war? What do you?
I think
what
that
do you
there's a couple of
prophesy?
scenarios. Yeah, I think that there's a couple of scenarios. I mean, there are scenarios. So it's these are hypothetical possibilities, right, or probabilities. And if we are arguing on the 6th of November, the day after, if there's a big argument about, well, we're not sure who won yet, the count isn't here yet, these various states don't have their numbers in. I actually think that'll be a really bad spot. And I do think that people are going to, I feel like people are going to go to those locations where there's counting, and there could actually be violence because people are so upset after 2020 and what is very clear in terms of a fraudulent election in certain states. And they're just
now understand what he's saying here. He's not saying if the results are X or if the results are Y. He's saying if we don't know who won every state by November 6th, that is a scenario for likely violence because people are upset about the so-called fraud in 2020, which of course didn't happen. What he's talking about is if it takes a little while to get it right. Now, I know people love to point to, France does it all in a single day. Okay, well, France doesn't have 50 states across, what do we have? Are Alaska and Hawaii in different time zones? If so, what, we're talking about many time zones here, 5 time zones. France is different, okay? Would it be great to get it all done? Sure. Is it the end of the world if it takes in a state where it's really close to November 7th to make sure we got it right, or November 8th at the, outside chance? I don't think it's the end of the world, assuming we get it right. And I also know of no reason to believe that if it takes longer, it's because it's being rigged for Kamala Harris. And this is a critical disconnect with every single one of these conspiracy theories that they come up with.
If you knew that $5 could help you kick Ted Cruz out of the Senate, wouldn't it be the best fight?
That there was some kind of fraud, that really Kamala Harris, if she wins, will win with roughly the same states Biden won with in 2020, minus a couple of states. She would, if you said, David, give me the most likely outcome today.
I know I
It's
haven't
a
talked.
map.
Infinite talk. So the more I listen to this, the more I'm realizing that, everybody keeps saying predictive programming. Yeah, but I don't think it is predictive programming for setting the stage to make people think it, which what a man thinks sometimes they end up doing. But it's something deeper than that. You're dealing with a group of people that have never been not able to do and live the way they want to live. But when they're put in that position, they ready to fight. They not used to saying no to not having access, and they losing jobs, everything. So they're a little pissed off. So I'm not gonna say that it's gonna happen, but something I just is it me or is it just the writing on the wall? I would be shocked if everybody after the election just go to bed and just say, okay, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Because they're not gonna have a decision that night. Realize I don't think it's always been a decision that night. But excuse me, but usually when you find out who the president is, truly who the president is, based on the electoral college and the popular vote, we usually know about 12 o'clock. It's usually late. It's late when we know. So it's gonna be interesting.
2020 map with probably Georgia flipped to Trump, likely Arizona flipped to Trump, and maybe a state like Nevada. Harris still wins in that scenario, but with a smaller margin than Biden. In Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada, which could be the deciding states, it will probably be really close. The polling at the most says that there's a 2-point gap in Georgia. In Nevada, it's a smaller gap. In Arizona, it's a smaller gap. It really could take until November 6th, maybe the 7th. At the maximum, you would think by the 8th, we would know. Michael Flynn is saying that's unacceptable and there will be violence.
Not going to put up with it anymore. I do believe that the left will have plans to possibly have what I call these false actions, right? Where they have these paid activists who get out there on the streets and start problems, start set of outcomes. And I think what we have to do is we have to be ready for anything. We have to be ready for those outcomes. I pray that we have a fair election.
Right.
Yep, Trump will. While Trump is going to claim. Well, Trump is going to claim the presidency before the actual say who won. He won. So he I really seeing that happen. Him saying that I won and then they flipped it. This is gonna be interesting.
I don't see it, but I pray that we do.
So this is the line. I just don't think we're going to have a fair election, and I've imposed an arbitrary deadline of November 6th, by which if we don't have clarity as to the winner, we are going to deploy violence. Now, Flynn says they have to be ready. He says we as they. We have to be ready. We have to, and I'm going to tell you something that maybe some in my audience will disagree with, although I think most will agree with. If Kamala Harris loses this election, I don't want her to be president. If the will of the American people, as dysfunctional, deranged, and dilapidated it would be, is that Donald Trump be president of the United States, I have no interest in crowbarring Kamala Harris into the Oval Office. I want the actual winner to be the president of the United States. It would be terrible if it's Trump, but if that's what the people decide, it's what it has to be. And then we have to figure out what to do in 2026 and in 2028. But that is not their approach. Their approach is, if I win, it's fair, and if I lose, it's rigged. And so obviously overwhelming the vote to such a degree that they can't steal it is the ideal scenario. Should that not happen, legally and from a law enforcement and security standpoint, Democrats better be damn well ready for what they have up their sleeves. Are you having trouble sleeping or staying asleep?
Fair use. Fair use. Now, all the while that we going back and forth about this election, we must not forget that a war is still brewing. We can't get so caught up that we don't realize that this. Now, moving on. Understand that the world is watching. The world is watching everything. Understand the world is going to be so plugged in on that Tuesday and that Wednesday and that Thursday and Friday. The world is going to be plugged in, including those leaders that are watching. If U.S. breaks out into a civil war, guess what's going to happen? These countries that have been watching is going to say they're internally falling apart. This is the best time in the world to invade. Y'all don't think? And this is just what I'm thinking. Like, I'm like, are we gonna have a Red Dawn scenario? Y'all remember the movie Red Dawn? It's just that crazy right now. So all the while we're going back and forth, we got this going on. They're not talking too much about this. So it says we are on the verge of World War III. GOP rep says after slamming Biden and Harris's foreign policy. Here we go.
Republican from the state of. So Mike Waltz joins us now, Republican from the state of Florida. Congressman, if there is a ceasefire within a few days before the election, is that a plus, a win for Kamala Harris?
Stu, they would certainly desperately hope so, but at this point, it is too late. The die is cast. Over 40% of votes, for example, in Pennsylvania are already in. And the contrast between the Abraham Accords under President Trump, peace deals on the White House lawn, versus the total chaos in the Middle East under Biden and Harris, I think is absolutely fixed in voters' minds. But we just can't lose sight of the fact of failure after failure from Harris and Biden and the team around them. They desperately tried to get us back into an Iran deal. Thankfully, that failed. But despite concession after concession, they have failed to deter Iran from directly attacking Israel. And most importantly, Stu, they failed to get our hostages out. By the time of inauguration, American hostages will have been in the tunnel.
Yeah, hopefully I have my setup and it'll be easier. But I will have my setup by Tuesday. But yes, don't forget. We must not forget. We must not forget that we have Harris and we have North Korea, because you just brought that up. Don't forget about the North Korean fight. And yes, troops, North Korea is in Ukraine fighting. It can't get any better than this, y'all. Oh my gosh. I was going to talk about that too. Thank you, Tim.
Of Gaza longer than the 1979 hostage crisis with Iran under Carter. Just think about that for a second. I think every news outlet out there should have that clock leading and their names leading every single broadcast, because it is disgraceful and despicable that we have a president and vice president who doesn't even say their name. and doesn't lead every diplomatic engagement with get our people out, damn it.
Shifting to another theater of war, Ukraine's President Zelensky, he's asked America for the very powerful long-range Tomahawk missile. Carlson, should Zelensky get the Tomahawk?
Look, first of all, you give them what they need to win early on, instead of this too little too late with all of these weapon systems the last couple of years. If it were part of, which I believe it would be under Trump, if it were part of a negotiation leverage to get both sides to the table to end this war, then certainly I could see it. But just throwing more of our advanced weapon systems, which, by the way, we don't have that many of, and we need for our adversaries like China, and that take a long time to produce with our current defense industrial base. If it's a means towards an end, Stu, I would certainly consider it. But this open-ended, what does success look like as long as it takes lack of strategy from Biden, I'm not for it.
You're not too happy with the Biden-Harris foreign policy.
So we got that going on. You have that, plus you got the situation with possibly going into World War III. I'm going to be honest. I'm looking at the relationship that, and I'm going to play this. Trump said something, and it kind of caught me off guard when he said it, but I later on thought about possibly why he said that. He calls Liz Cheney a radical war hawk. When I think of war hawk, I think of someone who wants war. And think about who she is. Liz Cheney, the daughter of Dick Cheney, who pretty much main owner or main owner or board member for Halliburton. Halliburton was all in the news about the Iraqi war and how they were taking contracts and doing all types of stuff when it came to the Iraqi war. Last night I was sleeping and I was listening to, half sleeping, had the news running. And as I'm listening, I hear Warhawk. He called Liz Cheney a Warhawk. Now I'm half asleep. I'm like, why is he calling her war? And some said, stupid. Her daddy is Dick Cheney. I said, oh, that's why. Who's to say, and this is just my scenario, who's to say that Liz Cheney and Kamala are not buddy-buddy? Because if you're president, we are going to war. Guess what? If you go to war, we're going to get those contracts. Is it just me? Hold on one second. But who's to say? Y'all get what I'm saying? Man, when I tell y'all, I'm telling y'all, I'm sitting here and I'm watching this. So with that being said, ask yourself why he called her a war hawk. Some ain't right. I'm like, if Kamala is in office, I feel like we are going to war. Period, point blank. We're going to war. Let me share.
Is it weird for you to see Liz Cheney, that'd be Dick Cheney's repulsive little daughter, running against you with Kamala Harris?
Well, I think it hurts Kamala a lot, actually. Look, she's a deranged person. She always wanted to go to war with people. I don't want to go to war. She wanted to stay in Syria. I took them out. She wanted to stay in Iraq. I took them out. I mean, if it were up to her, we'd be in 50 different countries. I don't blame him for sticking with his daughter, but his daughter is a very dumb individual, very dumb. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. You know, they're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy. But she's a stupid person. And I'd have meetings with a lot of people, and she always wanted to go to war with people.
So I wanted to ask you something. We can all sit down.
Yep. We cannot forget old Halliburton. Let me make sure. Is it Halliburton and Dick Cheney? Dick Cheney, Halliburton. The former vice president resumes his role of chairman. So Dick Cheney resumes role as chairman of Halliburton Company. What is Halliburton Company? Let's look and see. Hold on. So if he's resumed his role, Halliburton building oil rigs, oil, that's key right there. The spice, oil drilling, all that. So guess what? I'm a buddy with you. Because again, I know people are saying, and Pat Kelly did say, well, Liz Cheney has always pushed herself away from the Republican Party. That's fine. I see his point, but I'm still asking the question of why is Liz Cheney? I see Liz Cheney more with Kamala, that Kamala's the new vice president. Have y'all noticed that? I've always said, and my mom always said that Dick Cheney was put, hold on. Hold on a second. Dick Cheney was made the vice president during Bush Jr. because Bush Sr. is buddy with Cheney and like, look, my son is getting ready to be the president, but I need you to take care of the business because we got to make money. So Dick Cheney was I feel like Dick Cheney was the handler to Bush Jr. I've always thought that. But so if Dick Cheney is the handler for Jr., what is Liz Cheney? I'm sitting here and I'm connecting dots like, so guess what happens if we go to war? Drills. That oil is something they fighting over, that oil. And that's what's but I'm telling y'all, oil, that's the fight. So he called her a war hawk. She ready to go to war. Ready to go to war. And let's look it up. So war hawk. And then we can go. I know y'all tired. Y'all tired? Okay. Let's see. I'm playing one more thing. And then I'm closing up. So, C-SPAN is play. C-SPAN made a post. Fair use. Fair use.
Oh yeah, sure. She's a warhawk. She kills people. She wanted to. Even in my administration, she was pushing that we go to war with everybody. And I said, if you ever gave her a rifle and let her do the fighting, if you ever do that, she wouldn't be doing too well. I will tell you right now. But she's a warhawk. She wants to go kill people unnecessarily. And if she had to do it herself and she had to face the consequences of battle, she wouldn't be doing it. So it's easy for her to talk, but she wouldn't be doing it. She's actually a disgrace. Well, she is campaigning. I mean, she's campaigning for us.
Mr. Trump, I'm sorry, guys.
So with that being said, family, I've been at here for an hour, 30 minutes. Um, I'm getting ready to close up so I can drink my tea and go to bed. But really, I need to get my room together. But I wanted to come out, as we get closer and closer to this election. If you've not signed up and registered, if you've not registered for the event, please do. I have it pinned at the very top. We're sitting at 140 people already seated. So I have a ton of seats. I have 1,000 seats. I know I'm not gonna fill 1,000. Well, we don't know what the night will bring because I might end up filling 1,000 because folks are gonna want to come and talk. But with that being said, family, I am getting ready to go. Let's see. I'm ready to go because I'm tired. I've gotten a little tired, Saints. But with that being said, family, I am so excited about us meeting on us having the quiet in the back room meeting about the election. If you've not signed up and registered for it, go ahead and do it. It's 140. I already have signed up. We got 140 people. Let's get those numbers up, y'all. I really would love to see 300. It would just bless my heart to see 300. But if I can get at least two to three, I'm tight. Now, if I get more, praise the Most High God. So let's get this cracking and let us get it going. All right, family. Well, thank you so much. Also, y'all, I have a new intro and a new outro. I'm not going to show the new intro until Tuesday. So I'll get it together for y'all to be able to see it. If you want to support this channel, by any chance, you can Cash App me, and I think my Cash App is right here. Yeah, my Cash App is right here. Feel free to donate to the channel. All donations are welcome. If it's $1, if it's $2, if it's $5, if it's $50, if $100, thank you. God bless you. God bless you. If it's just you, your presence, that's a blessing for me as well. But if you want to support this channel, give to the Cash App. With all that being said, if you've not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. And if you've not registered for the event that we're having on Tuesday night, please do. And I will leave the registration open after we get started. So anybody else that wants to come after the fact, they can be able to register. All right, y'all. Thank y'all. Do I have PayPal? I got to set up a PayPal. I don't really have a PayPal. My PayPal is under my name. I'll set up a PayPal and have something ready by the time we go live on Tuesday. So, but make sure you sign up, family. Thank you so much for your support and love you, family. Be ready for this weekend. I may do something again. I got a strange feeling I have to do something again. And then I'm gonna have a pre-show event. I actually was gonna bring people up here today, but I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep it going with me for now. Because y'all know me. I try not to get dependent on people. You know, I guess I just love talking to you all by myself. But I will drop some links. I probably drop the link Monday night for us to kind of have a night before event. Then Monday night and just let people come up and speak their mind. If you're a Trump supporter, hey, come up here and say something. If you're a Kamala supporter, come up here and say something. So I may have an event Monday night too as well. All right, family. Thank you so much for your support.